All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in again. So we're going to dive deep into Stephen Covey's 7 Habits today. It's a classic for a reason, and I'm really excited to get into it with you. And I got to say, I'm super glad you sent that summary over. It's going to help us, like, skip all this, surface level stuff and just jump right into the good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes those summaries can be super helpful just to like get the big picture, and then we can, really unpack the juicy details.
Totally. Okay, so, like, right off the bat, Covey talks about effectiveness. Like, we all want to be effective, right? But what does that even mean? Like, how do we even know if we're being effective? And Covey, he actually went deep on this, like, way back, like 200 years of, like, history and philosophy to see how that definition has changed.
That's so fascinating. I love when authors like do that kind of research. It really adds a lot of depth.
Yeah, totally. And, like, what's interesting is that it used to be all about character, like integrity, humility, courage, those kinds of things. But then it's like it kind of shifted to be more about personality, like image and attitude, like the quick fix almost.
Yeah, and that shift is so relevant today, right? Like especially
Yeah.
with social media, it's all about like projecting this perfect image, but are we actually like building the substance underneath? Covey's whole argument is that like lasting effectiveness, it comes from the inside out, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's like building a house on sand versus solid ground, right?
Yeah.
So how do we build that foundation? Well, Covey says, first, we got to examine our paradigms. Now, paradigm, I know it sounds kind of jargony, but Covey tells this awesome story to explain it. Have you ever been stuck on like a noisy subway? Like totally annoyed. So he was on this subway and there was this guy with these like rambunctious kids and he was just like so irritated. But then he finds out that the man's wife had just died.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly the noise like wasn't the point anymore.
Yeah, it's like the whole situation is seen through a new lens, right? That's a paradigm shift. Like the facts didn't change, but his interpretation of them did.
Exactly. It's like boom, paradigm shift. Suddenly it's not about annoyance. It's about compassion. Like it changes everything.
And Covey's arguing that we all have these mental maps, these paradigms that shape how we see the world, and sometimes they need adjusting.
Okay, so that subway story, like what a powerful illustration, right? So how do we start making those shifts? Enter habit 1, be proactive. Now, a lot of people think being proactive is just about like taking action, like being busy, busy, busy. But Covey, he has a more nuanced view. He says it's about recognizing our power to choose our response. Like, yeah, stuff happens, but we're not just reacting to it. We're consciously deciding how we're going to show up.
And I love how he uses that concept of the circle of concern versus the circle of influence. Like we all have things we worry about, but those worries only become productive when they fall within our circle of influence.
Yeah.
The things we can actually change, a proactive person focuses their energy there.
So it's not about ignoring problems. It's about asking, like, okay, what can I do about this? Even the language we use can make a difference. Proactive folks are more likely to say, I'll find a way, instead of, if only things were different. Which brings us to habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Now, this one can be a little, well, morbid at first glance. Covey asks you to imagine your own funeral. What do you want people to say about you?
Yeah, it might sound a little dramatic, but it's like incredibly powerful for clarifying your values and your goals.
Mm.
If you know where you want to end up, you can start making choices that lead you in that direction. It's like having a compass guiding you through life.
And that's where the personal mission statement comes in, right? It's your blueprint, your guiding document. Covey emphasizes that it's not just about your career, it's about all the roles you play in life, parent, friend, community member, and so on.
Right. It goes deeper than just like achieving things. It's about becoming the kind of person who lives in alignment with their deepest values.
Yeah.
And that takes conscious effort and planning.
You don't just like stumble into a life of meaning, you create it. Okay, so we're being proactive. We have a clear vision now. How do we actually make it happen? That's where habit 3 comes in. But first things first, listener, get ready for some seriously strategic time management.
It's not just about to-do lists. It's about prioritizing based on importance, not just urgency. Covey introduces this fantastic tool called the time management matrix. It's divided into 4 quadrants. Urgent and important. Urgent but unimportant. Not urgent but not urgent, and neither urgent nor important.
And most of us, we spend way too much time in that urgent but not important quadrant, right? Putting out fires, responding to emails, getting caught up in the whirlwind.
But the real magic, the stuff that moves the needle on your goals and your overall well-being, it lives in that important but not urgent quadrant. Think planning, relationship building, skill development, taking care of your health. Those things often get pushed aside because they don't feel urgent, but they're the foundation for a fulfilling life.
Covey tells this great story about a shopping center manager who saw amazing results by shifting their focus to that quadrant two. Instead of just reacting to problems, they started proactively building relationships with tenants, understanding their needs, and creating a more supportive environment. So, listener, what are your quadrant two activities? What are the things that are truly important to you but maybe not screaming for your attention right this second? Because that's where the real growth happens. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Habit four, think win-win. Is life really a zero-sum game where for one person to win, someone else has to lose? Covey says absolutely not. There's a better way.
The win-win paradigm is about seeking mutual benefit, finding solutions where everyone involved feels like they've gained something. It's a collaborative approach that fosters trust, respect, and long-term success.
But Covey doesn't just talk about win-win, right? He breaks down the other paradigms too. Win, lose, lose, win, even lose, lose. Yikes. Understanding these different approaches can be really helpful in navigating those tricky situations where your needs and someone else's needs seem to be at odds.
The key here is recognizing that win-win isn't about being a pushover or always compromising. It's about approaching situations with an abundance mentality, the belief that there's enough success to go around. And that takes courage, creativity, and a willingness to see things from different perspectives.
Which brings us beautifully to habit five.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood. This one really flips the script on how we approach communication.
Yeah, it's so counterintuitive, right? Like we all want to be heard to get our point across. But Covey's saying, hold on, there's a step before that. Why is that so important?
Think of it like this. You wouldn't want a doctor who just throws medicine at you without listening to your symptoms, would you?
Oh, no way. That'd be a disaster.
Exactly. And it's the same in our relationships. If we're not truly listening,
Yeah.
not trying to grasp the other person's perspective, we're just talking at them, not with them.
Right. It's like you're just missing the whole point.
That's where misunderstandings, conflicts, and missed opportunities for connection come in.
So it's about more than just hearing the words. It's about understanding the feeling behind them, right? It's about empathy.
Covey calls it empathetic listening, and it's a game changer. It's about putting aside your own agenda, your own judgments, and really stepping into the other person's shoes, trying to see the world through their eyes to feel what they're feeling.
And that creates trust, doesn't it? When someone feels truly heard and understood, they're much more likely to open up to let their guard down.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's not always easy. It takes practice, patience, and a genuine desire to connect, but the rewards are immense.
Covey also points out that communication is so much more than just words. He has this breakdown, only 10% is what we actually say, 30% is our tone of voice, and a whopping 60% is our body language. It's like we're constantly sending out signals even when we're not speaking.
That's why it's so important to pay attention to the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
The words, the tone, the facial expressions, the gestures, all those cues give us valuable information about what the other person is really trying to communicate.
And only then, once we've genuinely thought to understand, can we effectively communicate our own message. It's like building a bridge, right? You can't connect two sides if you don't know where each side is standing. Okay, we're understanding each other, we're building trust. What's next? Habit six, synergize. This one really speaks to the power of teamwork.
Synergy is the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's that 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thinking. When people with different perspectives, different strengths, different ideas come together, they can create something truly remarkable, something that wouldn't have been possible if they were working in isolation.
I always think of that quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Synergy is all about that, going far together.
Exactly. And it's not just about professional collaborations either. You think about your personal relationships, your family, your community. When we approach those interactions with a spirit of synergy, valuing each person's unique contribution, we create a much richer, more fulfilling experience for everyone involved.
You know, Covey uses this analogy of a movie production, and it's so spot on. You've got the writers, the directors, the actors, the set designers, the costume designers, the composers, the editors, all these different creative minds coming together to create a single vision. And the end result is something far more magical than any one person could have achieved on their own.
It's a beautiful reminder that our differences aren't something to be feared or avoided. They're a source of strength, creativity, and innovation.
So listener, here's a challenge for you. Think of someone you typically clash with, someone whose views are very different from yours. Instead of seeing it as a barrier, ask yourself, how are their views different? What can I learn from that difference? That's where the potential for synergy lies. You might be surprised by what you discover. All right, we're in the home stretch now. Habit 7, sharpen the saw. This one's all about self-renewal, taking care of yourself so you can show up as your best self in all areas of life.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to replenish your own energy, your own resources, if you want to be able to give to others, to achieve your goals, to live a fulfilling life.
And Covey breaks it down into 4 dimensions: physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional. Each one is essential for our overall well-being and effectiveness.
Think of it like a car. You wouldn't expect it to run smoothly without regular maintenance, would you? You need to change the oil, rotate the tires, fuel it up.
Right. And it's the same with us. We need to nourish our bodies with good food, and exercise nurture our spirits through practices like meditation or connecting with nature, keep our minds sharp through learning and growth, and cultivate strong, supportive relationships.
And it's not selfish to prioritize these things. In fact, it's essential. When we take care of ourselves, we have so much more to give to others, to our work, to our communities.
It's like that oxygen mask on an airplane, right? You got to put your own on first before you can help anyone else.
Exactly. And it all ties back to those other habits. Being proactive about your health planning time, for activities that nourish your spirit, seeking out opportunities for learning and growth, and building win-win relationships. It all contributes to a life of greater effectiveness, fulfillment, and joy.
So listener, as we wrap up this exploration of the 7 habits, I want to leave you with a final challenge. What's one small action you can take in each of these 4 dimensions? Physical, spiritual, inner. Mental and social, emotional this week. Maybe it's going for a walk, spending 5 minutes in meditation, reading a thought-provoking article, or calling a friend you haven't talked to in a while. Small steps, consistent effort. That's where the magic happens. Now, before we wrap up, completely remember, Covey doesn't talk much about failure. Like, we've talked about how these habits can help us, be more effective, more fulfilled. But what about when things go wrong?
Yeah, that's true. Like, he doesn't really address that directly, does he?
What about those inevitable setbacks and failures?
It's something he doesn't really dive into.
Yeah, it's a great observation. And you're right, he focuses primarily on proactive success.
But I think the beauty of these habits is that they provide a powerful framework for navigating those difficult times as well.
Okay, so let's say you hit a major roadblock, something completely throws you off course. How could these habits help you navigate that?
Well, instead of falling into a victim mentality that why me or this always happens kind of thinking, you can tap into habit 1, be proactive.
So instead of feeling helpless, you're asking yourself, okay, what's within my control here? What can I learn from this experience? What's the next step I can take to move forward?
Exactly. That shift in mindset from reactive to proactive can make all the difference in how you approach a setback.
And what about habit 2? Begin with the end in mind. Could that be helpful in a situation like this?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
A setback can be a powerful opportunity to reevaluate your goals, your priorities, your overall direction. It's a chance to revisit your personal mission statement, that compass we talked about, and ask yourself, am I still on track? Do I need to make any adjustments?
Yeah, is this setback actually an opportunity to redirect my energy towards something more aligned with my values? I love that reframing, seeing a setback as a potential course correction, a chance to realign with what truly matters. And, even habit 3, put first things first, could be crucial here. It's so easy to get caught up in the urgency of a crisis, to let it consume all your time and energy.
But remembering to prioritize those quadrant 2 activities, the things that nourish your mind, body, and spirit, can be incredibly grounding and help you stay resilient during challenging times.
It's like that saying, self-care isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. Especially when you're facing adversity, you need those reserves of strength and resilience.
Right, and those activities help you build those reserves.
Yeah, they do. And let's not forget the power of habits 4, 5, and 6. Think win-win. Seek first to understand and synergize. Those become even more important when you're dealing with conflict, disappointment, or any kind of difficult situation.
Because they're all about communication, collaboration, and finding solutions that work for everyone involved, right?
Exactly, whether you're navigating a disagreement at work or a personal conflict, or even just trying to support a friend going through a tough time. Those habits can help you approach the situation with empathy, understanding, and a willingness to find common ground. And of course, we can't forget habit 7, sharpen the saw. Taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually is essential for maintaining your resilience and your ability to bounce back from setbacks.
It's all connected, isn't it? These habits work together, supporting each other, to create a foundation for a life that is not only effective, but also resilient, joyful, and fulfilling.
So, listener, as you go out into the world and put these 7 habits into practice, remember that it's not about being perfect. It's about progress, about striving to be a little bit better each day. And when you inevitably hit those bumps in the road, and we all do remember that these habits can be your guide, your compass, your toolkit for navigating those challenges and emerging even stronger on the other side.
It's a lifelong journey, a continuous process of growth and learning, but the rewards are well worth the effort.
Couldn't agree more. A huge thank you to you, expert, for sharing your insights and wisdom, and to you, listener, for joining us on this deep dive into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Keep those paradigms shifting, keep those habits sharp, and we'll see you on the next one.